Whether you're a seasoned Dynasty Warrior player or jumping into the battle for the first time, Dynasty Warriors Origins offer plenty of gameplay for everyone. But before you dive into the upcoming tactical hack and slash, there's a handful of things you need to know. My name is Fervor, and before you dive into the battle on January 17th, here are 10 key details you need to know. Let's begin. Now, before we dive into the gameplay details and everything you need to know, there's one thing that's super important that's going to be very important for pretty much any players who's looking to jump into Dynasty Warriors Origins. As of recording this video on December the 31st, there will be no co-op or multiplayer available in Dynasty Warriors Origins. Now, while the development team hasn't specifically said why, this is going to be something very jarring for a lot of players, especially ones like me who grew up playing games like Dynasty Warriors with friends and family, because co-op and multiplayer has been something that's been pretty integral to the series. With that in mind, it does look like the franchise is moving in a direction, in my opinion, that is going to put more emphasis on the single player and develop the world a lot more, and from what I know of the game so far, the story is significantly more in depth, the combat is more refined, and the reduction on quantity has been to improve the quality of features in the game. Will this pay off in the long run, or will it make players happy? Who knows, but from what I can tell thus far, it does look like they are stepping things up. You'll have to make a decision if you want to jump into Dynasty Warriors Origins, knowing that you won't be able to co-op. Regardless, every player needs to know this, and this is the most important thing to note, but wanted to make sure you guys know this, so fair warning. With that very key detail out of the way, let's dive into some more details about what Dynasty Warriors Origins is. So what is Dynasty Warriors? Well, the game is a blend of hack and slash combat with strategic commands over troops. Functionally, you're going to be a general within the army, capturing individual points of interest, assisting troops in facing off against generals, and overall just commanding the battlefield. And you'll have to approach the battle in meaningful and smart ways to get victory. Dynasty Warriors is actually scheduled to release on January the 17th, 2025, and it'll be available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC of course. You have two options on what you can pay for. First, the standard edition for $69.99. This includes the base game. You can actually pick up the digital deluxe available for $89.99, and the deluxe edition actually offers additional content. This includes a 72-hour early access period, a digital art book, soundtrack, in-game currency, and exclusive costume. Now, while I'm not a massive fan of 72-hour early access tied behind a paywall, if you are a player who's looking to get in a little bit early, you can shell out an additional $20 to get it. This is kind of the meta for 2025 and beyond, I'm sure of it, so nothing too crazy here. But ultimately, you'll be able to jump in anywhere between January 14th and January 17th to dive into Dynasty Warriors Origins. Now, while we don't have a confirmation on anything in terms of the overall monetization, I'm expecting a very similar trend considering they already have a deluxe edition very similar to that of Dynasty Warriors 9. Now, some of the monetization that you actually may consider seeing in the store will be things like bonus costumes, music tracks, new stages, and other add-ons. From what I can tell, because I didn't play Dynasty Warrior 9, it does look like some of the stuff can get pretty pricey. Of course, all of this is completely optional, but I do want you to be aware that there may be some monetization that you may not be aware of. When it comes to combat and different weapons, Dynasty Warriors Origin actually feature quite a few. You'll have access to dexterous weapons like the sword and spear, more in-your-face weapons like gauntlets and wills, unorthodox weapons like paddles and staffs, and some of my favorite weapons like lances, twin pikes, and crescent blades are all going to be available for you to choose on your character. As you continue to use each of these weapons, you'll be able to master them and even specialize in them. This will increase their effectiveness, and each individual weapon will actually have their own unique moves to them, giving you a really nice amount of customization and varying playstyles that a lot of players are probably going to enjoy. You also have access to a plethora of companions. I haven't actually played the game, would love to get an early access look of the game if possible. It does look like you are capable of controlling companions. Each of the individual companions has their own unique powers that you can actually control and unleash to help you in battle. Even picking different companions can reward you with different spawn locations and just overall influence the battle in different ways. Once again, have no clue how many companions are going to be available, but it is a really cool feature that's going to give you another level of customization that's going to bring a lot to the table. Without spoiling too much, you'll have the ability to choose your own individual path and side with the factions. There's Wei, Chu, and Wu all having their own unique and iconic leaders, and depending on the choice you'll make, you'll influence how the world behaves around you, giving you a very unique perspective on the story. Once again, while I haven't played the game myself, from what I know, each of the individual stories will make the gameplay feel a little bit different from one another, And seeing that they have put a bigger emphasis on the story, it does feel like this is going to add to the replay value of the game. Now when it comes to the overall characters in the game, there looks like there's going to be 47 unique officers, some playable, some only interactable in different locations of the game, and some not playable at all and just straight up opponents. Of course, a second ago we talked about companions, which will be about a handful of them. I think there was 10 when the last I checked, so there are quite a few companions. And besides the faction leaders and the playable companions, there will be quite a few others who's going to be there to enhance the overall narrative of the game. Compared to other Dynasty Warriors titles, this definitely is a step back when it comes to the quantity of characters, but from what I can tell, this does look like the sacrifice is going to only improve the quality of the story as well as the gameplay. Personally, a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Now finally, I want to end this video off on talking about the combat and the gameplay overall while you're in the game itself. One thing I will say, playing the demo, which is actually still available right now, you can go check it out on Steam as well as on both major console stores. It does look like there has been a bit of a change when it comes to the overall gameplay. The last time I played a Dynasty Warriors game was well over a decade ago, and jumping into Dynasty Warriors Origins felt completely different. First off, there is definitely a much higher emphasis on tactical gameplay. I kind of came in with the intention of just kind of hack and slashing and not really thinking about it. Of course, I wanted to go to certain locations and accomplish certain tasks, but it does look like you actually have to think. In my first playthrough of the demo, I went to a location that I thought would be the best way to approach the battle, and my general got overwhelmed early on and we end up losing the fight. Fortunately, Dynasty Warriors Origins features a system where you can kind of go to different points in the battle and start from there, so you can maybe reevaluate your approach. But the key thing to this was it felt more of a actual tactical battle, unlike in other Dynasty Warrior titles. You still have that great combat where you're facing off and just destroying hordes of enemies, but at the same time it does feel like you're actually in a battle. When it came to the generals, not every one of them was pushovers. Of course, some of the lower ranking generals were easy to destroy, but once you got to some of the tougher, higher ranked generals, you actually kind of had to fight them, and that's actually really different from what I've experienced in past Dynasty Warrior titles where you kind of just walked all over them. In the demo, you actually got to face off against Labu, an absolute legend in the Dynasty Warriors franchise. It felt like an actual duel. You had to block, parry, dodge, and pretty much fight him as if he was a pretty strong boss. Now, I'm sure in the next coming weeks there's going to be a lot of articles talking about the game, and they're going to be tossing around the idea that it's a Souls-like. I do want to be first to say it's not a Souls-like experience. It just have combat that requires you to parry and dodge. These are very common things before Souls-like, but I just want to make sure players who are jumping in know this. But overall, the combat was very interesting and fun. There was definitely a tactical approach to how you perceive every fight. You have the ability to call down arrow rains, surround enemies, have your allies charge into groups of enemies to break through lines, and overall it felt like you were actually a general on the battlefield, which is actually really refreshing. Again, I've only played the demo, but if the demo is an indication of what to expect from Dynasty Warriors Origins, and personally, I'm really looking forward to the game. And there you have it. That is 10 or so important details about Dynasty Warriors Origin. Keep in mind, I'll be live streaming the launch over on Twitch on January the 17th, link down in the description, as well as dropping several guides once I get my hands on the game later this month. So make sure you subscribe to the channel to not miss out. With that said, thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video very soon, Warriors.